Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Taylor. For today's video, I'm doing my top 5 reads of 2022. This will be pretty much the last 2022 roundup video that I have planned. I know I've done my favorite clothes and purchases. Now I'm finishing off with books. I'm sure this goes without saying, but all of these books were 5-star reads for me. But I think that's it. So let's just get into it. I'm gonna go in order that I read the books. Starting off, we have Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. I think this was the first or second book that I read in 2022. And I feel like along with the whole TikTok trend of reading, we all started off with Colleen Hoover, and I've definitely branched out from that author. I don't really read her books that much, and the few that I did read in like the last quarter of 2022, I didn't really enjoy that much. I just think there's a lot more better authors out there, but I'm really happy that I did start with her because I feel like it really got me into reading. Honestly, a lot of these books are super basic. I'm aware of that, but I don't care, and maybe if you haven't read any of these books, I'll give you the push to read them. Yeah, I don't want to give anything away, but this book was so sad. I was sobbing at the end. I literally threw my book across my room and just like cried in my bed. And honestly, it's like a year later that I've read it and I'm still thinking about the characters and the plot line, so that's how I know that it really hit home. But it's basically about a girl, I think she's like 23. She moves into her brother's apartment because she's just finishing school and she's trying to find a job, and she ends up kind of having this attraction and crush on his neighbor, which is one of his best friends, and he's a pilot, so he's always gone, but he has this like deep-rooted trauma, I guess you could say, and he does not want to get involved in her, although they do start hooking up, and it kind of just escalates from there, and you learn about the trauma later in the book, and it's so sad, guys, but such a good book. I recommend this to everyone. It's my hands down favorite Colleen Hoover book ever. Moving on, I have 2 Emily Henry books, Beach Read and Book Lovers. I'm pretty sure I read these back to back, or maybe like one book apart because I want to space it out. Starting off with Beach Read though, I don't know why it took so long to jump on the Beach Read bandwagon, because I'm pretty sure this book was really popular in 2021, but I didn't read it until I think the summer of 2022. And it truly is an amazing read. It's a classic enemies to lovers, which I love, but I just feel like there's so much like emotional connection and depth between the characters in this book, which I really enjoyed. I'm pretty sure I finished this book within a few days. I just could not put it down. I always recommend Emily Henry's books to my friends who are looking to get into reading. Next is Book Lovers. I personally enjoyed Book Lovers better than Beach Read, which I feel like is controversial because Beach Read is a lot more well-loved, but that's what I love about books. They're so personal and it varies person to person. This one as well was Enemies to Lovers, which is like a classic romance plot. Nora, the main character, is like a super high-strung, needy girl who goes to like this little town with her sister on a vacation from their favorite book and ends up meeting another male author there, and their story begins. This book just embodies opposites attract. Book Lovers as well has so much depth between the characters, and she builds such a connection and story between them, which I personally love, and I'm so excited about Emily Henry's new book coming out this year. I think it's in April, so I obviously will be pre-ordering and reading that. Next up is Tessa Bailey and the first book in the 2-part series, It Happened One Summer. Something actually really funny is I've read Hook, Line, and Sinker before It Happened One Summer because I didn't know what order they went in, and I realized like a few chapters in, but I was just already kind of in at that point and really enjoying it, so I just finished it. But it definitely helps to read the first one before, but it didn't make that big of a difference because I read them back to back so I could kind of piece the puzzle together. But I just thought that was funny. I should have done my research before. I actually heard that this book is based off of the main character from Schitt's Creek. I've never seen that show, but if you guys love that TV show, you'll probably really like this book. But a little summary, the main character Piper is from LA, and she's like the classic LA Instagram influencer girl, and she gets sent away to this little town because she got in trouble by her dad, and she ends up meeting this like super manly rugged fisherman from this little small town, and her sister goes with her. Out of all the romance novels, this one has the most character growth with the main character Piper, because she like completely transforms from the summer that she spent in this little town. But yeah, it's basically about Piper and her sister maneuvering a new life, learning how to be independent, and obviously she ends up falling in love with a guy here. I like how in the second book the story kind of continues and you hear more about Piper and Brendan and how like all of their lives become intertwined. It's really good. Up until the end of summer 2022, I was really in my romance grind. Like, it was essentially all that I read, which I'm not mad about because I love them. Finishing off with a bang, my absolute favorite read of 2022, which probably looks super surprising coming next to all the books that I just shared with you guys, but it's A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas. It's the second book in A Court of Thorns and Roses series. Guys, like, this book actually left me breathless, and I still think about it every day. I get so emotional about it. I've just never experienced such like emotion and attachment to a book besides this one, and I just feel like if you read it, you get it. It's just ineffable, to be honest. I just think everybody needs to read it. This series was my first dabble into like the fantasy romance, and I'm addicted now. It's pretty much all I read. I throw in like the odd romance here and there, but fantasy has definitely stolen my heart, and I think if you guys are looking to get into fantasy, this series is a really good one to start with. I wouldn't change it for the world, and I just feel like I'll always have such an attachment to this series and think about it forever. Like, I'll honestly probably reread this book within the next few years, and I'm really sad that I won't be able to experience it for the first time again. I just am obsessed with Feyre and Rise, and this book pretty much just embodies them coming together in their relationship. In the end, just, I could cry. Like, I honestly might cry thinking about it. It's just so funny how I was obsessed with Tamlin in the first book, and that just completely switched into this book, and I'm not mad about it because I love Rise. And Feyre as well completely changed into a new person. I'm just like, learned how to be herself, and it's also spicy. All of them are, to be honest. But yeah, there's just so much depth through like emotion and connection that was built through this book through Feyre and Rise. That's something that I really like in books. Maybe it's my Scorpio moon. Like, it's so good. Please read it. All right, that concludes my top 5 books of 2022. I will obviously have all of these linked down below. Make sure to follow my Goodreads and my Bookstagram so you guys can keep up with my current reads. I don't really post it that much on my main anymore just because I made that book Instagram. Obviously, if you guys are watching this video, you love reading, so please leave some of your favorite reads of 2022 in the comments so I can add them to my Goodreads. So that's all, and I'll see you very soon with a new video.